Well, welcome back to North Norfolk and Gardener's Cottage here in village of Blakeney. Lovely autumn afternoon again here. We're going to give you a little tour around the garden, but first we're going to take this lot down onto the quay and give them a walk through the village and go and have a look, see what's happening down at the cut. So let's go down to Blakeney Quay. It's absolutely beautiful down here this afternoon on the quay at Blakeney. Low water, no wind, lovely sun, just starting to descend into the west. Blakeney Hotel there on the front. Quite a few tourists, most of them here just for the day. And a walk out along the raised walkway towards Morstan behind the boatyard here. Lovely thing to do. Takes a couple of hours to walk to Morstan. Some good cafes to refresh yourself before walking back to the car at Blakeney. And as long as you check the tide times, that should be absolutely fine. Nice way to spend an afternoon in October. We've come a little further down the cut towards the end of the Corsner walk here at Blakeney, and the light this afternoon is just spectacular. Calm, trickling water going out the cut, a few seagulls just pecking around and enjoying the little pools that form down here. It's obviously been quite a high tide here overnight. You can see the mud coming right over the footpath as it goes down towards the old houseboat that's been abandoned at the end of this walk. Oh, and she's getting absolutely filthy enjoying this mud, running around chasing things. Lovely place to come with a dog and walk out. They absolutely love it. Plenty of smells, things to explore, and other dogs, great place to come and give your dog some social here in Blakeney, particularly out of season. Well, this is about as far as most people walk out, as far as you can walk out without taking your shoes and socks off and paddling through that water to cross over to the far bank that you can see there. The water at low tide's only about a foot deep. It's very easy to do, and you can walk out, if you can know the tides, right the way into that large bay that curves its way round to the left and makes its way down for about a mile and a half before connecting into the wash, more or less on line with Morstan. In the far distance, just on the horizon, you might just be able to make out the gently curved and rotating wind turbines of the Sheringham Shoal. Won't be generating too much electricity at the moment, more than I probably give them credit for. It's incredible to think the furthest one of those is 24 miles offshore, I think. But they're very visible here in the evening sun. It just highlights the white of the blades against the blue background. Marshes off to my left continue for miles past Cley towards Witherton before giving way to the soft cliffs beyond that down to Cromer in the far distance, not visible from this position. You can see the windmill at Cley just there in the middle of Witherton Hall in the foreground, the trees behind it, looking very serene this afternoon. Blakeney High Street in October, not exactly a hive of activity. It's actually closed down the bottom. Got some scaffolding and roofing work going on in the White Horse. The Lokes looking very autumnal. Still hollyhocks flowering. Builders starting to come in and do repairs in low season. Walking up the high street towards Gardeners. Very peaceful. Apples here are always spectacular, and this year Along with the apple crop generally, they've really ripened beautifully, showing an enormous amount of colour. Starting to drop a little bit. The blackbirds tend to pick these off quite rapidly when they do ripen up and sweeten. This year's a few on the ground, so plenty left for the birds though. Just look at that, very pretty. Hopefully they'll stay for the rest of October through into November. We'll see how they last. Well, I've got some very good autumn cyclamen in this garden. A little clump here that's surviving under these pine trees by the side of the garage. And just behind me we've got a beautiful display from the Russian vine. Just look at this flowering away. Beautiful covering over the log store here, disguising the oil tanks behind, and it's making its way right along the butcher's fence. Flowering absolutely beautifully here this autumn. I said one of the highlights this time of year is the autumn cyclamen, and this one of the two clumps we've got here. Beautiful display, plenty of flowers and plenty still to come on. These will flower through to the end of the month and right through into November. And there's another patch on the opposite end of the garden under the weeping pear. I just walk across to show you those. Evening sun streaming into the garden from the west here. Here's our other little area of the cyclamen. Too dry for anything else to grow under here, but these things just love it. Really flowering beautifully. Rest of the garden looking quite autumnal now. A little bit of rose bud, really bizarre. Late flowering stem of buddleia here. Shouldn't be flowering in October, should it? But it is, and doing very well for it. And look at this beauty on the back wall. Single stem rose with this beauty at the very tip. A nice way to end our little tour here around Blakeney and Gardener's Cottage in October. Thanks for joining me.